So there are these things in Destiny called bounties, and it just so happens that you can take these throughout the different seasons. This has been confirmed in a 12 by Bungie, which is why in this video I'm going to be giving you a step-by-step guide on how to hoard bounties in the most efficient way possible, as well as what bounties give what XP, what bounties you should stay away from, and which ones have a slight bit of confusion surrounding them. One thing to bear in mind when you watch this video though is that some of this could change. Later on in the week there's going to be a blog post by Bungie discussing stuff like this and similar, so if anything changes relating to this guide I'll leave a pinned comment down below. But with that out of the way, let's get into the video. For those of you that maybe aren't aware, bounty hoarding is basically when you leave unclaimed bounties in your quests tab and open them in the next season. By leaving them unclaimed, it means that you can store them for an unlimited amount of time without them expiring. This is good because it means that you can instantly get a decent way through the season pass in the next season, as well as a couple of levels from the seasonal artifact. In my case, I will be preparing for season 12 or Beyond Light, but this will most likely apply in future seasons as well. The first thing I want to go over is how much bounties are actually worth in terms of XP. Weekly bounties are worth 12,000 XP and are the highest XP rewarding bounty in the game. Dailies give you half of that, coming in at around 6,000 XP. Repeatable bounties are only 4,000 XP, so if we can, we're going to stay away from those. Speaking of staying away from stuff, there are a number of bounties that will not transfer over to next season. Bounties to avoid include Prismatic Recaster bounties, Black Armory bounties, Gambit Prime / Reckoning bounties, and all of the bounties from planetary vendors that are going away. As a general rule though, if the bounty won't be completable next season, don't hoard it. So I'm going to start off by talking about the Gunsmith bounties. The cool thing about these is that they don't just award XP, they actually also have some other materials that you can claim with them, mod components probably being the most important. Pick up the weeklies and the dailies. A very quick way to complete these is by going into the Whisper mission on IO. Once you get to this so-called green room, drop down onto the little plane below and these Shadow Thrall will start spawning infinitely. Use the guns required to complete the daily bounties and you should be able to get it done pretty quickly. If you're watching this in a future season, there are also similar spots in the Last Wish raid in the second encounter, as well as in Shattered Throne. Alternatively, you can farm lost sectors, but these will most likely take much longer as there is only a finite amount of enemies in each one. As for the weeklies, one requires you to get kills in any of the three main playlists, Strikes, Gambit and Crucible, and the other requires you to get precision kills on a specified planet. Lost sectors grant the most efficient progress for this. I'd recommend using a precise weapon like a hand cannon for this so that you can easily line up the headshots or any other crit spot. Strike bounties are going to be relatively self-explanatory. Just do the quests in Strikes and not in Crucible or Gambit, because that would be bad. Be sure to load up a specific strike with a faction if you need a specific faction kills. For example, if you have Hive kills, I'd recommend loading up Strange Terrain, as that one seems to be pretty fast. Otherwise you're going to be in the playlist for quite a long time. There's no real strategy for this, just make sure to steal all of your teammates' kills and you should be good. For my bounties, I had to run a Nightfall to kill champions, but if you have this one and would rather just play normal strikes, simply wait until the next day and get a new bounty. As for Crucible bounties, it's pretty much the same deal as strikes, to be honest. Pick up the weeklies and the dailies and just complete them in Crucible. If you're not great at PvP, you can of course skip these, but it will mean you will have slightly less XP going into next season. Now, Gambit bounties are a little bit more confusing. Gambit as it is will be going away next season. However, the bounties for the default mode shouldn't be going away, so you're free to hoard them. This is one thing that might end up changing, so I'll update you guys in the pinned comments if anything else does happen. For the actual bounties themselves though, most of them can be completed in around 2 to 3 games. However, there is one weekly bounty that can take a lot longer. And the name of this bounty is called the Might of the Traveller, and it requires you to get super kills or generate orbs of light. Problem is, it takes way too long without optimizing your loadout. The best way to complete this on Hunter is to use Orpheus rigs with tether, that being top tree void. Best way to complete this on Warlock is to use bottom tree solar with the extended super for kills, and Titan is probably the easiest because you can either use Bottom Tree Arc for the extended super on kills, or, and this is what I personally did, you can use Doomfang Pauldrons with Bottom Tree Void to keep your super active for an insanely long period of time. The rest of the bounties shouldn't take too long. Next up, if you have Shadowkeep, head on over to the moon and pick up the weeklies and dailies from both Eris and the Lectern. If you haven't done much of the campaign yet, then chances are these probably won't be available. However, if they are, or you've just completely played through the entirety of the Shadowkeep campaign because of what I just said, go ahead and complete them. I completed most of the Eris bounties in the K1 communication loss sector in Anchor of Light, and I just played some random nightmare hunts for the Lectern ones. I also want to point out that Eris's weeklies do in fact give the usual 12,000 XP, even though it doesn't actually show on the rewards. Also, my Lectern only had one bounty, but I think that's probably because I only recently completed the Shadowkeep campaign on my Titan. Not too many tips to give for the actual bounties during this, other than to use a gun with Demolitionist or Traveller's Chosen if you end up needing grenade kills, as that is one of the more frustrating ones that you can get. Now those are probably the most accessible bounties for the average player, but there are a number of other sources of bounties that you can benefit from if you're a little bit more experienced or set up. The Iron Banner bounties could be useful, however the pinnacles that drop from these will probably not be able to use as pinnacles next season. Don't quote me on that though. Trials of Osiris bounties are also available, but the catch is you have to be good at PvP. I am not, so I'm skipping these. If you did want to do them though, and you have a decent team, they'll take you a little while, but they could be worth doing if you want the XP. Another method is through clan bounties, which are pretty quick and easy to do if you have a clan. I'm also not going to be doing these because, well, I don't have a clan. So that is it for all the bounties that you can save, but if you have slots in your quest tab still available, there are a number of things that you can do to fill it out. Firstly, if you wait until the next week, you can pick up all of the weeklies for that week, as long as they're not currently the same as the ones that you're hoarding. For example, there are only 3 weekly Gambit bounties, so a week after completing the first 2, you can pick up the third and hoard that as well. In the last week of the season, do as many of these weeklies as you can, and then stock up on dailies. These work in the same way, except it refreshes daily as opposed to weekly. Do this until you reach the maximum quest limit, and that should be a pretty decent amount of XP for you next season. So I hope you all enjoyed this video, or at the very least learned something about bounty hoarding. I realise some of my current subscribers probably won't understand what on earth's going on in this video, but I still wanted to make it anyway so that I can get this information out here for the people who may need it. But with that being said, I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.